Welcome to the Radiate Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Christy Clemens Hoffman. Each week we will discuss tools, tips, and ways to radiate your best life ever, interviewing practitioners, authors, and luminaries to help you on your path. Wellness, joy, peace, abundance. What do you want to radiate? Hello and welcome back to the Radiate Wellness Podcast. Today we radiate courage with Jessie Gray of Flying Pig Improv, who teaches improv to grown-ups of all stripes and people of all stripes. So welcome, Jessie. It's so good to see you.
Hi, Christy. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Yes, it's lovely to be here.
I've been looking forward to this because improv, it's fun. You get to play.
I am so glad you said that. That is one great response to the word improv. And but I have to admit, there are a lot of people who don't have that response.
Really?
They have a response of, oh, that's scary, or oh, I'd never do that, or hey, my brother-in-law might be good at that because he's funny. I'm not. And so there are so many who don't, welcome this. And I spend a lot of time sort of educating folks and getting them acclimated to the world of improv. And it may not be what they initially thought it was. So thank you for having me and letting me tell a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. I think it's important for us to have an understanding of play and how that relates to us.
Right. Gosh, as adults, we put it aside. We put it behind some other things that are more responsible. We have our commitments and our calendars and our responsibilities, and sometimes we forget to play or how to play or even where we can go and do that in a safe way. And we start losing that kind of in our early teens when people start telling us to grow up, or we start looking forward to being 18 and I can get out of here, and 21 so I can drink and do whatever I want, and we put those playtimes away. And gosh, it's too bad because we really have to go through some stuff to get back to it sometimes.
We do, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, when we're teenagers, we're adolescents, all of a sudden we become overly concerned with what other people think, too.
Yes, and that's a big part of the radiating courage. Really has to do with the courage it takes to be who you are and to be authentic. And improv commands that. It begs you to be who you are in every moment. And you might put a thin veneer of character or situation on it, but you're really being very vulnerable. And your experiences are what you bring to the scene or the game. Let me back up just a moment and talk a little bit about what improv is and what it isn't. Because long ago in Los Angeles, there was a famous comedy club called the Improv. And everybody went there and came from there, and we had huge comedians. And those were all stand-up routines. And those were all stand-up comedians. And improv is very different from stand-up comedy. Stand-up comedy is something that is honed alone. And it is honed. It is practiced, it is timed, it is very specific to land that story, land that punch. And improv is kind of the actual opposite of that. Usually, improv happens with a group of people, And ideally, those people have a certain skill set that you work on in improv. It's a craft. And with that skill set, then you work together to do something that is completely unscripted, that has never been seen before, and cannot be recreated ever again. And so it's kind of a magical world, but it's done with other people. And we've all heard a little bit about Second City, where all the Saturday Night Live players come from. And Second City used improv to create sketch comedy, which is written down and has these very broad characters, and that gets honed and practiced and performed. The roots of it may have come from an improv scene, but the improv was just made up on the spot. So improv is about running around without a script,
right?
And without rehearsal. And
without rehearsal. Mm-hmm.
That can be super scary to people. It's especially scary to actors. Oh my goodness. Actors don't like improv. If they didn't start out in improv, they're unlikely to come to it. There's great comfort in a beautifully written script that was crafted and honed.
Behind a character, behind a narrative.
You know what's coming next. And you can prepare for what's on page 32 because you have beats and steps and arcs and, and so there is a path to a thing that you are striving for. And so to take away that script and to ask folks to just see what happens next, it's pretty frightening.
Especially for someone whose bread and butter is from rehearsing a thing until you get it down pat and can replicate it the same way every night for every performance.
Yes, whether you feel it or not.
Right.
Right? And I have been there. I was an actor for many, many years, a scripted actor for many, many years, and I still love it. I go to the theater, I cheer my friends on. I think they're wonderful, wonderful things happening in theater. And then I took this little path of improv, and I...
Yes. How did you get into that?
Wow. Many, many years ago, when I was living in Los Angeles, this was in the late 80s, I had an acting teacher there in LA who was very astute at teaching a technique called this from Sanford Meisner. And Meisner technique is very improv based. Excuse me, it's all the scene work, all the emotions, everything. There's no script. You're not doing scenes that are already written. You're just doing improv. And I did a few years of that, and I loved it so much. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't realize, improv. And then many years later, I got to the San Francisco Bay Area and did a number of shows and so forth, and took some classes. And then in 2013, I quit my job. I quit a big fancy corporate job.
Oh my.
For many reasons. Just for many reasons. But part of it was just my spirit called for it. It was time.
Yeah, it was time.
And I really didn't know what I was going to do. And I landed in a quite lovely situation where I could afford to be there without having a big full-time job. And so I went back out exploring for improv. And I found a lovely little theater in Oakland called Pan Theater. And it was small, and it was intimate, and it was a great learning ground, and you got on your feet right away. And so I learned a different style of improv with them. And I dove in and took all the classes everywhere in San Francisco. San Francisco and Oakland are just saturated with improv. So I took all the workshops, all the classes. I spent all my time and money on improv, and I loved it. And I started teaching at Pan, and I started running the theater when the owner was absent, and directing the troupe, and I just couldn't get enough of it. But I knew in my heart that I really wanted to have my own studio. And so, but I didn't want to do it in the Bay Area. First, it was so very expensive. And second, it was so saturated.
Right.
And so I thought, well, the next best place I know of is Wichita, because there isn't a learning center in Wichita for improv.
Right.
And it's my hometown. And I had been gone for 35 years, and my mother had aged, and it was time to come home and spend some great time with her. And so I packed my things up, and I came back to Wichita and immediately started finding a place and putting out flyers and making this thing happen. And so it's been 2 years now. April 20th will be the second anniversary of Flying Pig Improv.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And it has been delightful. People come. And so we were talking about actors earlier and how they don't come. That doesn't surprise me. This town is full of actors who aren't coming to improv. I'm okay with that. Because the people who do come to improv, they're engineers and bartenders and parents and therapists and all kinds of folks are coming to improv just like they did when in Oakland. I couldn't believe how many city planners and military personnel and everybody was coming. And because everybody has a yearning for something, right? A need to express themselves, a need to be creative, a need to get back to something that was fun. And it's scary to take that step kind of back and accept that you're a full-grown adult who wants to play. And so they come. And I try to make it as easy as possible for them. I do drop-in classes on Saturday mornings. And literally, until I had to limit the class number, you just walk in and take an improv class. The first one's free. How hard is that? I mean, the door's open, come here.
Yeah, no doubt.
Until they tiptoed in and looked around to see if it was okay. And it turned out to be a room full of people who were getting to know each other and laughing and having a great time. And to join into that is much easier that way. And so we play some games. Everybody's played some of these games at some church camp or Girl Scout camp or icebreakers at some corporate shindig. They're known games. And every once in a while we'll surprise you with one you don't know. But to play them and to not be judged about it, everybody's doing it for the first time. Or everybody has done it for the first time at some point. And you look around and see people genuinely having a good time. The shoulders come down and the laughter comes out. And at the end of the thing they go, I didn't know it was going to be like this. I thought it was going to be hard. And I thought I was going to have to be funny. And I always say, you were funny. You just didn't have to try. We don't want you to try to be funny. So.
Right. Take that pressure off. And so why would engineers and professors and bartenders and hairdressers want to learn improv?
There's a couple of reasons. One might be there's a little hidden ham in there, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, who else is inviting you to come and do something in front of other people where they might laugh and applaud, right? There might be a little hidden ham in there, and that's okay. We've all got it. There's also the possibility that something's missing, and we can't quite put our finger on it. And if you keep ignoring that and putting it back and putting it back, then that thing starts to become like a, like a boulder. And it gets bigger and harder, and the more you try to move around it, the grumpier you get, and then you become one of those people who says, well, that's just the way it is. Never going to change, right? You've met those people. They have a huge boulder that they didn't take care of, but it was a pebble.
Right, absolutely.
So people have a yearning.
Yeah.
They might yearn to play. They might yearn for a time when they did a high school play. They might yearn for a time when they was sitting on a park bench watching some kids have a great time building a fort, right? And if we take care of that yearning, if we listen to it, we will find our way to things that will excite us, will give us a place to release some creativity, will give us an opportunity to do something a little risky, right? A thrill. And some of those people get hooked, like I did.
Right.
They get hooked, and they take all the classes, and they audition for the troupe, and they start performing, and their lives really change. There is a confidence in them. There is just knowing that they have some chops at something new, that they have other people that they can rely on and who have their back, and they have someone else's back. So there's a huge support system in improv. Your partners are everything, and you are everything to your partners. And that's one of the really thrilling things about improv to me, is when I say I've got your back, I mean it. I mean, I am going to take care of you. I'm going to get you out of that mess. I'm going to come in and justify your mistake. I am going to sing a song for you until you can get your bearings. I'm going to do that because I've got your back. And that is a great feeling to have.
It is a great feeling to have.
So people might come with some curiosity, and then they go, hey, this is a pretty interesting activity. I think I'll come back again. And then they come back again. And then they enroll in the short form class, which is all the improv games, the fun games like Party Quirks and Lines from a Box, and the games that we see on Whose Line Is It Anyway? And then they stay and they get into long form, which is unscripted theater. And that, to me, is dessert all day. It's being in made-up worlds that are real and imaginary, and you get to inhabit lives of people who are in these scenes in a way that I don't remember having done that since I was a kid.
It is the ultimate make-believe.
Yes. Yeah, and it's super fun, and it's it's not like you get all lost. It's not a big psychological head game thing. It's not therapy. Please don't come to improv to fix yourself in that way. It's just that somebody says something, and then you say something back, and then a scene starts to take place, and somebody brings a brick, and somebody brings another brick, and pretty soon, in a couple of minutes, you have a castle that you're living in, and the whole world has become much clearer as to who you are and who they are and what you're doing here, and this little slice of life and the relationship between those characters. And it's just, wow, it's thrilling. It's thrilling, and some of us can't get enough of it. It's pretty fun.
So what kind of transformation do you see in people who study this with you?
You know, I have gotten some amazing letters from people who have emailed me or sent me actual letters saying that they didn't know what was missing, and that the next day after they took their first improv class, the next day people asked them, "Hey, what's up with you? You look different. You feel different." And for some people it's that fast. For some people it takes a little bit longer, and they start to notice that they're making more eye contact, and they are able to respond to what was actually said instead of what they perceive from their own filtered perspective.
Right.
Right? If someone says, I want to buy your car, right? If that's a line in the scene, I want to buy your car, and in real life, your answer might include a lot of things besides, "Really, you want to buy my car? That's great. I need to sell my car," right? That would just be a clear, right here, right now answer.
Right.
But it might be, "You want to buy my car? What, like, you want to own my life? You want to take over everything I've got and act bigger and better than me by having my car?" Like, you can drag a bunch of crap with you, right?
Right.
And people do that all the time. It's never about the thing. It's always about the past and the future. And improv makes you stay right in the moment. You want to buy my car? You have just made my life better. I have, how can I thank you, right? Right into that very moment about how I feel about you wanting to buy my car, rather than all the crap that I'm dragging with me.
Right.
So people start taking some of these improv skills, and they realize that they apply to life too. You want to stay in the moment. You don't want to drag the history and the future in. You want to make some eye contact and feel comfortable not only looking at other people, but being looked at. Just allowing that to happen without all kinds of, twitches and plastered faces and stuff. You can be relaxed in being seen. Mm-hmm. You can take your time in responding. You can even repeat what the other person said in case you didn't hear it correctly. You're listening not just to the words, but to the whole person. Their voice, the way their shoulders are set, the speed at which they're speaking to you, the tone is everything, right? The words almost don't matter.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
Right? If I say to you, "That's a great sweater," I can say it as if I mean it genuinely. "That's a great sweater." But the same words, "That's a great sweater," or "Yeah, that's a great sweater," which is kind of creepy, right?
It's kind of creepy.
So the words don't really matter that much. It's the tone and how it's coming towards you, and you get to take that in and read all of that and then respond to that. You can even say, "That was creepy," or "You sound jealous," or "Hey, thanks, I just got it yesterday." right?
Exactly.
Depending on what you feel. Instead of just, yes, thank you, all the time being polite.
Right.
We stop being polite, we start being real and in the moment.
In the moment. That is a very good way to be, I think, is in the moments, because that's when everything happens. And and you can actually, that's I think that's an important life skill.
Yes, and it's a challenge too, because we don't spend much time in the moment.
No,
There are
no.
lots of really wonderful practices in the world that ask us to be in the moment. Yoga and meditation and acting and everything. And yet it's really challenging to do because your brain can go 10 places at one time. One exercise that I give people, because they always ask me, well, what can I do on my own to get better? And I say, when you're doing something by yourself, when you're taking a shower, for instance, that is the ultimate by yourself activity.
Pretty much, yeah.
And when you're in the shower, how much time in that shower do you usually spend on your calendar and thinking about what's going to come right after this shower or throughout the day, or what happened yesterday and the way you wish you'd said it, right? You had this confrontation and, I wish I'd said, or, man, if I don't pick those kids up at 3, I'm going to, they're going to ding me again and they'll never let me leave the kids there again. And, so your brain's a million places. How about the next shower, you just be in the shower. You just smell the shampoo while you're doing it. You feel your scalp. You feel the temperature of the water and see, it doesn't just hit you and fall off and bounce off. It trickles down your body. See if you can trace that down your body. And I guarantee you that your mind will wander and you'll go back to your calendar and your recipe. And when you realize that you're doing that, smell the shampoo again, right? Bring yourself back to this moment and just see how long you can sustain that. The periods will get longer and longer over time. The first one's going to be a real challenge. Then you take that out into the kitchen and make yourself a cup of coffee. And while you're making your cup of coffee, just feel the weight of the kettle. Mm-hmm. And smell the aroma. And hear the sound of the refrigerator as you open it. And just be completely immersed in the activity that you are actually doing. And allow your brain to rest for a moment from all the activity it wants to log.
Mm-hmm.
You have time to do that later. You're not going to fail because you took 2 minutes to smell the coffee.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that later. Just do this one thing. And it will lead to the next thing and the next thing. And once you get a taste of that, you so look forward to the next time when you can do that again. And it might just be getting in the car. It might just be, petting your cat a different way. Mm-hmm. How many times do we come and go, to the dog, hey, buddy, how's it going? Let's get some food. And we have this routine that we have with them. What if you just scoop them up and smell them? Right?
You make you sound so zen.
It is kinda. Yeah.
Kind of zen, right? I can imagine what it might be like to teach improv to a bunch of Zen monks. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Wouldn't that be something? And what I could learn from them.
Right.
Because I know I'm just scratching the surface. And some of these things that, when I'm talking about the weight of the coffee pot and the smell of the coffee, we take that moment and we then turn it into space and object work. And so I'm memorizing everything about the weight of something and the texture of an orange. And if I scrape my thumb along it and I smell it, oh, I can't wait for that orange. I'm going to put that in my lunchbox, right? It gives me life in improv, because they're never going to be an orange on the stage. I'm never going to wear a cape. I'm never going to have a candelabra. So all those things I have to bring to it. Mm-hmm. And so I want to absorb everything around me. And there are going to be scenes where something is going to break my heart. And I may not have had my heart broken recently. So I have to hang on to some of those feelings and thoughts. Just like I memorized the weight of the coffee pot, I'm taking in the feelings that I'm actually having and holding on to them so I can bring them back when I need them. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So the Zen part of it, there is a level of that, and then I have motive on top of it. On top of it, I have motivated Zen. I want to use all of those experiences later as well. So this in the moment thing really, it just keeps, it's sort of a meta thing. It keeps happening on top of itself.
Right. And using moments to create new moments.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Remembering those things. And that is why it's sad that actors won't come to improv. And I won't harp on it all day long. But those are such sensual things that you could bring back to your acting. And one day, when I've done the marketing and the school's running like crazy and all that stuff, I'm going to go after those actors. Because I think this is something that is that can't hurt them.
No, absolutely. It only can help.
And might actually help.
Yeah, might improve their craft.
Support for the Radiate Wellness Podcast is made possible in part by listeners like you. Would you like to support this podcast? Visit radiatewellnesscommunity.com/podcast for more information.
And so I just have to ask, because you're doing this in Wichita, is Wichita a good place to be doing that?
I am pleasantly surprised at who has been showing up for improv. And there were some, I came back to a boatload of friends here. I went to college here and did theater here for a number of years. Okay. And then I left and I came back and and people were here. They had either left and come back or had been here the whole time. It's fantastic. It was like a big happy reunion. And they've been very supportive, and they've come, and seen shows and so forth. But almost everybody who walks through my front door is a stranger. And the age range is amazing.
Is it really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. Generally, in the world of improv, and you go to towns like Chicago or San Francisco, and it is a lot of young men, usually between the ages of 22 and 30, doing improv. And they are hurting for women to come through the door to do improv. And some do, some don't. It might be because I am a woman, and I welcome everybody, and I'm older, that the young people come because they're going to come. And the women come because it feels safe. And I'm talking to, people from a perspective of age and I don't know, generosity, I guess. And so I've got the young people. I have folks who are in their 30s to about 45. And then we jump from 50 to 70. And it's amazing and wonderful. People are finding a new craft and hobby to work on, and every day they get up and want to do improv. I'm delighted. It doesn't surprise, I mean, I guess it surprises me in some ways. Wichita's big enough, though, to handle this. And there are a couple of improv troupes that perform regularly in Wichita. Say What is wonderful. They play out in Keachai, and then now they're going to be down at the Looney Bin downtown. And I like them. They're funny. They do good stuff. The colleges have improv troupes, and there are a few straggler independent improv people around who haven't quite come in yet. But I've been pleasantly surprised at how it's been received, and delighted at who walks through that door every day. It's always a surprise to me. I love it.
Sure. And
Wow.
so do you find yourself having to do a lot of education about what improv is and why anybody would want to do it?
Yeah, there is that. Because like I said, folks have an idea that it might be stand-up comedy, which to me, I've done a little stand-up, and it's scary, and it's alone. And that was the painful part for me. Or that it's sketch comedy, like Saturday Night Live. We don't get to see a lot of improv, right? We get Whose Line Is It Anyway? And Netflix had a few shows of a improv duo called Middle Ditch and Schwartz.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they did long form. So if you happen to get in on that, you got to see a little bit of long form, but you don't get to see the improv very much around here.
Right.
And now it's more important than ever that we keep the improv tradition going, because so many of the theaters in Chicago shut down in the past year. And we have lost institutions of improv. And my greatest hope is that now that they're starting to dig their way out of the rubble, that someone will pick those torches back up and bring them back, because Chicago was decimated in terms of improv.
Oh yeah. New York theater was decimated. Like all the theaters, just is so sad. And so, how do you find that? I mean, it's like you just started this company 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so half of your existence has been in the time of COVID.
Yeah. Woohoo!
Woo-hoo.
Yeah,
How did that whole thing just kind of blow up for you?
I didn't plan on that.
Well, no, that's not part of your business plan.
And I had a business plan. It looked really good on paper. I spent, because it was the end of March, it was just about this time when they ordered us to shut down. And I thought, oh, okay, well, sure, I'll do my part. I didn't know it was going to be the rest of the year.
Right, this long.
Nobody did.
No.
And when it started dragging on a little bit, I got a little like, hey, hey, this isn't how it's supposed to go.
Right, exactly.
And I really struggled with it. It's a weird thing for an improviser to say, but I don't really stay abreast on current events. I don't watch much television, and I don't watch any news, because it gets in my head. And so I'm relying on instinct, and I was just fighting with myself. And here's the number one rule in improv, and people will say it's called yes and.
Right.
Accept the situation and add something to it. And that is a good rule of thumb. I like to go a little deeper in yes and. Accept the situation. you don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. But you have to be willing to say, this is what's happening. If someone walks up to me on stage and says, get those elephants out of here, I have to accept that I have brought elephants into an area where they're not supposed to be. Now, I can be all angry about it, or I can be all jovial about it, whatever, it doesn't matter. But the fact is, there are elephants here. I brought them here, and they're not supposed to be here. And that's how I felt about the whole pandemic. I had to first accept that it was actually happening. I know that sounds like I'm insane, but I had to accept that it was happening. And then I had to find ways to add something to it. And the way I could add something to it, since I couldn't do improv, I found ways to volunteer in my community.
Yeah.
And I found people who needed to be listened to, people who were under a great deal of stress and needed listening. I found that I could take some feral cats in and get them spayed and neutered so that I could make a difference in my neighborhood. I just found ways to make a difference while I'm accepting the fact that we are locked down, wearing masks. We can't touch each other. We can't visit each other. We can't gather. We can't laugh. We blah, 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 all the things that everybody was going through. So I spent a lot of time not doing improv, and not even, like, I did it online for a little while, trying to teach classes online, and there were so many people doing that they didn't need me doing it, and it didn't make me happy. So instead I started taking classes online from other people. And then I opened up briefly in July, August, and September. August, September, October of last year, because I wanted the troupe to be able to stay cohesive and keep their skills up. So we had troupe practice, and I invited people to come and see little shows. And I felt like I was doing that under the radar, kind of, like I was sneaking it in. And then the numbers started to climb again, and I went, we can't even do that, so I shut it back down again. And it just opened up again 1st of March. So it hasn't been a big year of income, but it has been a huge year of growth, like personal growth. And my spirit slid way down. I'm not any good without momentum. I'll just flat out tell you that.
Yeah.
I thrive on momentum, and I didn't have any, and it got... I didn't know where I was going to get it. It has really revived in the last 2 months as I start thinking about, we're going to get together again. We wear face shields still, and we're still distancing in the studio. It's a big enough studio, we can do that. But just the thought of being able to do it, and the thought of being back with people was the momentum and the motivation that I needed to get going again. And so now I've stopped whining about everything, and I'm focused on the front. It's important to me that people come through the door not because I need to make up revenue, but because they need to be together. They need to look in each other's eyes. They need to have laughter in the same room with another human being. They need to take a risk. They need to shake off that howl of, something you can hide under.
Right.
You can shrug it off and get out here and get back to life, and not go back to normal. Let's just get on the other side of this and go forward with bigger and better stuff.
Yeah.
With more courage, with more stamina, with more than we ever thought we could go through. We did. And we're continuing to do that. And now we know we have that to take us forward. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. What are some of the next chapters for Flying Pig?
oh, well, April 20th is our official anniversary, and I'm going to say this out loud right now. I want to have a all-city improv jam to celebrate that week.
Fun.
Yeah, so to get improvisers in from whatever troupe or college group or, you know, the new people in town, they should just come. And we're going to play games they all know, and we're just going to have fun. And that's all I can say about that. And there will be troupe auditions in June. I'm giving people some chance to get the classes taken and get the foundation down, and then they can audition for the troupe. And so I'm going to rebuild that. And then we're going to have some shows. And then people are going to line up to see the shows. And they're going to want to take the classes because they'll look at that and go, I think I could do that. Because they can. It just takes that little bit of courage to step over the threshold.
Yeah. I love that. You know, I'm just looking at your website right now, and there's just so much great stuff out here. I was looking at the shows and stuff that's like, what is out here when people are doing shows and what it's going to look like when it comes out. Looking at there's the Who and you and your stuff here, your story, and I'm looking at the why. Why would we want to do that?
Yeah.
Why would we want to do?
We have a creative itch, and we seek thrills, and we, oh my goodness, we want to feel something. I'm so tired of not feeling anything every day, you know, and I think that is the thing that, like, I miss the most. Some people would be surprised to hear me say that I am an introvert. I like my alone time. I love my downtime. It takes a lot of alone time for me to be this public, right? And even I live alone. I love living alone.
Yeah.
And I'm practiced at it. And I look forward to it every day. And even I had trouble with being so isolated and lacking human contact.
Right.
And Zoom is great, and the phone is fine.
Right.
But there's just nothing like looking in somebody's eyeballs and making a connection and saying the next thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do have such wonderful things that are out there, which we will be able to do this one of these days. You know, of course, and it's happening in a safe way that it's going on right now, and just wonderful things such as the drop-in classes again.
Yeah.
The short form classes, the long form classes.
Yeah.
The improv boot camp.
Boot camp is really fun. After you've taken all the series of classes, because I really do want people to have a strong foundation. I am a foundation girl. I am the wax on, wax off kind of girl. I want everybody to have the foundation. And then come be in the troupe and exercise all those skills. But the boot camp is about 3 weeks before auditions. And people come and we run drills. It's like, like the calisthenics of of improv, and it's super fun. It goes super fast, and like 10 characters in 60 seconds. I set a timer, and every 6 seconds I go, next, next, and they have 6 seconds to do a character, and then it goes, and the next 6 seconds they have another character, completely different character, and it's just a hoot, because at that speed, at that much repetition, you're bound to fail. And failure is one of the things we applaud the loudest. I haven't even talked about making mistakes. We love mistakes, because mistakes are what will keep you on your toes in improv. And we run our regular life trying not to make any mistakes, or if we do make mistakes, trying not to let anybody know it was us.
Right, exactly. Which is kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah. And so in improv, the moment you make a mistake, you just throw your hands in the air and yell, I failed. And everybody cheers, because we're all going to do it. If you're afraid to make a mistake, then you're afraid to do the next thing.
Yeah.
Because you're afraid to make a mistake. So, we don't want to be afraid of anything. We want everything to be possible. So, cheer it. Get used to it. Fail so many times that it doesn't scare you anymore.
It reminds me of, I think it may have been not Einstein, the inventor guy, I cannot remember.
Edison.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Who said, I have found, so many ways that this didn't work. But I found the way that it did work. But you learn so much more from how you learn how it doesn't work.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And having that, we radiating back to courage, finding the way to find the courage there, and finding out that, you can do this, and you can fail, and you can screw up.
Yeah.
Life goes on.
That's the thing. The courage part comes in so many places here. The courage to just, like I said, step across the threshold and to enter the room, and then the courage to participate, and the courage to feel way out of your comfort zone sometimes.
Right.
And the courage to come back, and the courage to fail, to take a risk, to do it in front of other people, to be looked at while you're doing it. Oh. And the courage to even ask yourself, what do I want? What do I need as a person?
Right.
To know that there's something in there. Because if you ignore this stuff long enough, you're going to end up with a big, giant midlife crisis on your hands. You just are. And you don't even have to wait until you're middle-aged to have it. About once every 7 years, you're due for a crisis. And we call it a crisis because we've tamped it down for so long it just explodes out of us. It doesn't have to be a crisis.
Yeah.
It could just be an exploration.
Yeah. And then we've got a whole troupe, a whole room full of people that can go through it with you.
Yeah.
And y'all just fail together.
Fail. Big. Do it. You're going to do it in front of the audience, too. One day, you're going to get in a troupe, and you're going to get on that stage, and it's going to be a night of crickets. Nobody's laughing. Everything went overboard. You tried too hard. The joke you pulled just didn't make it. It was just a rotten night, and you're going to live with that. And you're going to learn some stuff from it.
And you're going to be okay.
And you're going to be okay. Exactly. It's happened to every single person on stage. And I got to say, it's worth it when it does come together. When you look your partner in the eye and they look back, and you take the next step together. And that is what you live for as an improviser. And as a person, I think.
And I think it's just where adrenaline flows and creativity flows and everything just kind of comes alive out of that moment too.
Yes. Yes, we have them in real life, and you can have them on call in improv.
Right, right. So I love that you're teaching improv in Wichita, Kansas, of all places. A wonderful place to be. And it just seems like it's something that's very much needed right now.
Oh, yeah.
I love what you're doing.
I encourage everyone, if you don't have improv near you, it doesn't matter. Find something. I have friends who got all signed up for pickleball. They're totally pickleball heads now. It's great. I have other friends who are looking at dance classes, salsa classes, and cha-cha. Go do that. Find a program at the library you're interested in. Find a ukulele society. Find something. And just take the step. Because courage isn't exclusive to improv. You need it for everything. So go find something. Find some fuel. We have gotten so depleted. Go find some fuel, and it will lead to the next thing and the next thing.
Well, there you go. So I would like to encourage everybody listening, watching, etc., to go check out Flying Pig Improv. And the website is full of wonderful information. Even if you can't get to Wichita, Kansas, there's improv somewhere. And the courage to step outside who you are and to step into something that's not quite in your comfort zone, because it's worth it.
Right. And Christy, I just want to thank you and Radiate Wellness for opening up, to something that would not normally be on the list of things to explore in the world, and that I could probably say the same thing about your services and your people. It may not be it may not be everywhere. It may not be usual. So step out and try a new technique, a new method, a new something to take care of some of our known issues and our known things that we're pulling out of after a year of
a year of funk. I mean, because it's literally something we all need to just shake off of ourselves, right? No matter how we do it. Yeah. All right. So radiating courage, that's what it's all about. And Jessie, thank you so much for spending this time with me and breaking it down and talking about something new and different to get yourself out of that funk.
I had a wonderful time. Thank you.
Radiate Wellness is a community of holistic and alternative healers and consultants based in the Kansas City area, dedicated to helping you create spiritual, energetic, and physical well-being. To learn more about our practitioners, services, classes, and events, or to schedule an appointment, visit us at radiatewellnesscommunity.com.